Tonight, the cracking new British thriller Paper Mask. Christopher Walken with an encounter of the third kind, and behind the scenes with Madonna and Warren Beatty in Dick Tracy. Hello and welcome. Later in the programme, I'll also be looking at a comic biker movie starring John Candy and Dan Aykroyd. But first, we take a look at a British thriller which I just know you're going to love. It's set in the not-too-distant future, with a man struggling to survive in an apocalyptic world. Hardware starts with the remains of an old cyborg being picked up by interstellar soldier Mo, who gives it to his girlfriend Jill as a Christmas present.
Jill, I got something for you.
Oh, God. Look at this. It's horrible. I love it. What is it?
Maintenance drone, I think. I picked them up out in the zone. Probably some kind of new design they're testing. I thought you could make an ashtray out of it or something.
Just look at the workmanship. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
You don't look so bad yourself.
Merry Christmas, baby.
Mo's present is guaranteed not to bring her any Christmas cheer. They're parts from an advanced warrior robot called Mark 13, which is armed with a drug which makes the victim enjoy his or her own death. The machine was withdrawn from manufacture, but, as luck would have it, Jill has pieces of one of the only ones left in existence. It's one of the deadliest machines ever made, it's in her apartment, and it's getting ready to party.
That little bastard you just blew away. That's their population control. Our final solution.
So what? You gonna let them win?
No,
You gonna lay down and die?
I want to live.
Of course you wanna live. Jill, baby. I can't, baby.
Help me, I'm
I can't.
coming.
You're hanging on a power line. If I touch you, we'll both fry.
Help me!
Listen, the ledge just below you. You've got to jump. So,
And now, I can't! Help me!
swing it. Just swing to the love of Christ. Just swing and jump. It's coming. You got to do it. Jill, it's coming. Swing for the love of Christ. It's coming.
It's gripping stuff, all right, and lives up to the label which one film critic put on it, that Hardware is the Terminator of the 90s. The film might score more on atmospherics than in the script, but what atmospherics they are. Director Richard Stanley uses all his pop promo know-how to create a weird, terrifying vision of the future in which human life comes cheap as man muddles himself towards an uncertain future. The film is often like Blade Runner fused with RoboCop, and if you like that sort of thing, then satisfaction is guaranteed. Now, our next video, Paper Mask, is a British thriller with its feet planted more firmly on the ground. It's all about a conniving hospital porter called Matthew Harris, whose idea of upward mobility is to assume the identity of a young doctor called Simon Hennessy, who he sees killed in a car crash. Paul McGann plays Harris, seen here masquerading as Dr. Hennessy.
I'm Dr. Mumford. This is Dr. Thorne, Mrs. Griffiths of the administration. We've read your CV. Most impressive, really. Ah, Philbort, that's my old school. Who was your headmaster? I see now. Penal unit, yes, good. And before that... Ah, the Hammersmith. Professor Simpson is still there?
Yes, I believe he is, yes.
And old Pearson?
Ah, good old Pierce.
Why is he retired?
No, I believe Clive Pearson has been dead for 3 years.
Oh.
You didn't know that? No, I didn't. Well, at least you're honest.
That's exactly what he isn't. Matthew gets the job and crams into the night learning how to be a doctor in just a few weeks. But when it comes to the crunch, he has a baptism of fire in the casualty wards. Up until this point, it's quite convincing how he could have learned the tricks of the trade, helping out understaffed doctors on the wards. But when he starts his first day without anyone to consult, things go badly wrong.
Okay, let's get getting things organized.
Do I get a local or what?
Just testing. You better hold still.
Oh, Jesus, what?
You're better off without it anyway. Now you'll just feel a little jam.
If you've got a moment, there's a guy in the edge of his leg hanging off.
Not for the squeamish. Amanda Donohoe, who you just caught a glimpse of there, plays the nurse who helps Matthew get by, falls in love with him, and eventually discovers his secret. Paper Mask is one of the best British thrillers in years, and the lead is convincingly played by Paul McGann. It's at times almost a reprise of his part in The Monocled Mutineer, which Paper Mask has a number of similarities to in its jabs at the British class system. The medical profession will no doubt be mad with the way this film shows deception operating in medical circles and the way it undermines that age-old adage, trust me, I'm a doctor. But so long as you're not a doctor and you enjoy intelligently made thrillers, you should enjoy this one immensely. Now, although Mountains of the Moon has American backing, the subject matter is very much British as well. It's one of those films they rarely make these days. A ripping yarn told in over 2 hours and covering thousands of adventure-strewn miles. It's set in the mid-19th century and centres on the two explorers, Burton and Speke, and their attempts to find the source of the Nile when all white Englishmen were deemed to be frightfully decent chaps and all natives were savages.
It's the lake!
Working on reports and their own gut instincts, the English aristocrat John Hanning Speke and the Irish adventurer Richard Francis Burton covered thousands of miles of unexplored East African terrain in order to reach their goal. They were attacked, imprisoned, and eventually had to abandon the expedition.
Don't be offended. It's a blessing. It's all right. The bargain has been made. Try some?
Looks like fun. Mountains of the Moon didn't really move me, despite the stunning visuals and competent performances from Ian Glenn as Speak and Patrick Bergin as Burton. The characters are too one-dimensional for a start and made me feel like an onlooker never truly drawn into their plight. You might be surprised with some of the violence in the film, by the way, the worst of which comes in the first 15 minutes, almost as if the producers of the film, who also made Rambo 3, were trying to hook you from the start in the most obvious way possible. Heaven forbid. Now we turn our attention to Dick Tracy, another of those Hollywood spectacles which comes to us overloaded with hype. In case you've been on another planet this past year, Warren Beatty stars as the cartoon strip hero who does battle with all sorts of heinous criminals in the Prohibition era. Cartoonist Chester Gould created a one-of-a-kind world full of legendary gangsters like Flat Top, Itchy, Lips Manless, Prune Face, The Brow and Big Boy Caprice, all brought to life in the movie by prosthetics, the art of making faces out of specially moulded latex rubber, new glued-on identities that helped actors like William Forsythe get into their criminal characters, not just physically, but psychologically too.
I have 3.5 hours, people putting glue and rubber all over me, so it puts me in a perfect mood like to play a killer.
The production design is unique also in its use of matte backgrounds and primary colors.
Look what you did to your pretty tuxedo. Big boy, ain't we pals? No pals in this business, Lips. You taught me that. Sign it.
The deed to the Club Ritz?
That's right. I'm going into show business now. Get dirty, Lips. You need a bat.
Not the bat! Not the bat, big boy, not the bat!
I know the feeling. Al Pacino there as Big Boy. Overall, Dick Tracy is an immensely charming, fun and action-packed adventure that pays homage both to the gangster movies and romantic comedies of the 30s and 40s. Technically, the film is a masterpiece, with the crew amassing 68 Oscar nominations between them. But the one drawback with the film for me was the hype that preceded it. I'm certain I'd have enjoyed the movie a lot more if I hadn't been bombarded non-stop with stories surrounding it for so long. Most of these concentrated on the infamous affair carried on and off-screen by the film's central characters. Madonna's performance as Breathless Mahoney is a cross between Marilyn meets Mae West and a less animated Jessica Rabbit. Beatty in the lead role, meanwhile, repeats his by now standard combination of smouldering sensuality and Little Boy Lost, a performance that's kept him as a heartthrob since Methuselah was a teenager.
No grief for Lips?
I'm wearing black underwear.
You know it's legal for me to take you down to the station and sweat it out of you under the
I
lights.
sweat a lot better in the dark. I know how you feel. You don't know if you want to hit me or kiss me. I get a lot of that.
Look, you're safe. Big Boy's in jail. You're the one that can keep him there. Give me a call.
I couldn't help thinking as his stunt double leapt across rooftops and his eyes crinkled just a wee bit too much that this would have been far better if he'd allowed his vanity to cast a younger Adonis in the lead. It's his project, though, and in summing up, it's worth paraphrasing Madonna's Breathless Mahoney when she says, you should put a little dick in your life. Stay with us for part 2 because in tonight's competition, we've got 6 superb Dick Tracy packs to give away, but only if you win. Christopher Walken is haunted by aliens in the film Communion, and we'll be taking a peek at what's new on the collector's market. Join me after the break. Part 2 of Video View. Now this week's rundown of the UK's top 10 most rented videos. There's no change at number 10 with Mickey Rourke in Wild Orchid. John Candy slips down to number 9 as Uncle Buck. Standing still at number 8, John Travolta in Look Who's Talking. Down 1 place to number 7 with Coltrane and Idol as those nuns on the run. Gere and Garcia fight it out at this week's number 6 in Internal Affairs. A new entry at number 5 brings Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. Slipping down the chart to number 4, Back to the Future 3. And Julia Roberts as that pretty woman rises again to number 3. Arnie falls from top place to number 2 in Total Recall. And at this week's number 1, there's Bruce Willis in Die Hard 2. Hello again. Well, we've been seeing a great deal of John Candy and Dan Aykroyd recently. Candy's been up to his usual tricks in Uncle Buck and Cannonball Fever, while Aykroyd's in the current hit Loose Cannons. The two of them appear in bit parts in Masters of Menace, a comic biker movie which looks for all the world like something made up out of Cannonball Run spare parts. Aykroyd turns up halfway through as an Evel Knievel character who's seen better times and reunites with his old motorbike companions as they evade the law. Candy, meanwhile, has the briefest of cameos as this lorry driver who's about to be pounced on by the crazy gang, the Roadmasters.
I got lucky last night. Pleasure living and I got lucky last night. Pretend you're being an evil.
Quite a party with those.
Stumble like a Georgia mule. Made love to me so good last night. You had no pride to school. Got lucky last night.
What? I'm doing what I can last night. Thank you for your concern.
What the heck are those guys doing? They're gonna get themselves killed. Typical weekend for you guys?
Nah, we usually party real hard.
Some people will do anything for a lager. I won't dwell on Masters of Menace too long as I found it pretty disappointing, but suffice to say, if you like Police Academy-style movies in which the jokes come crude and obvious, then it's worth a look in, but don't bother inviting the neighbours round to watch it. A marginally better bet is Communion, Whitley Strieber's fantastic account of a close encounter. Strieber claims he was visited by aliens while on vacation with his family in their country retreat. As if to prove the story, he wrote a book which instantly became a bestseller a few years ago. Strieber maintains that he awoke in the middle of the night and was carted off by little blue monsters and spindly things which looked like extras from E.T. They carried out experiments on him and then haunted him and his son for months afterwards. When he got back to New York, Strieber couldn't focus on his work, became depressed, and then started behaving even more weirdly than he had done before the close encounter. Here he is searching for clues at the psychiatrist's.
Falling asleep. Whitley? Whitley, let's go back to that first time. The night of October 4th, last October 4th. What do you see?
October 4th. Busy day. Writing.
Last week she was
cooking. A mess in the kitchen. Alex and Sarah came. We were going to the country.
Just come in.
Yes?
So we're in the car and we're talking and there's a lot of traffic and it's getting dark. We get up there and I can't get the security system to work because it's just every time I touch it, it goes crazy. And fixes it. We go in the house, build a fire. First fire of the season. We went to bed.
What happens after you go to bed?
I wake up, middle of the night. Something went past my window.
Something went past the window.
A light. Big, like a light. But I don't want to think about that, so I go back to sleep. Is that someone there? You know, I see you. I'm seeing someone
Yeah, I don't think I like this.
I don't know which one looks weirder. There's great central performances from Walken and Lindsay Cruz as his wife, but they rather overbalance what is essentially a confused and confusing film. Because we've seen the aliens at the beginning, the suspense is slight, and with them looking like something conjured up by industrial light and magic, they don't add much credence to Stryber's account. It's rather like having someone say Ewoks really do exist, honestly. As a matter of interest, Stryber is in real life the fantasy writer who wrote The Howling, and I can't help thinking that it's all been a bit of a hoax. And now for our regular look at what's new on the collector's market. There are 4 new additions to the Russian Classics label. We are from Kronstadt, Eisenstein's Que Viva Mexico, Chapayev and Kozintsev's version of Hamlet, and arguably the best of the bunch is this impressive-looking box set of Sergei Bondarchuk's version of War and Peace, which runs for 403 minutes. The film is not to be confused with the inferior English-language version starring Henry Fonda. Bondarchuk choreographs what many have hailed as the best battle sequences ever filmed, while the interiors are just as stunning in their own way. Good old days when they knew how to throw a party. Also worthy of mention are 2 classics from Sam Fuller, Shock Corridor and Naked Kiss, a Brando collection, and John Waters' Pink Flamingos and the Naked Gun, arguably the funniest film of last year. Here are a couple of clips from those films.
I'm drunk, Kelly, please. I'm drunk, Kelly, please. I'm drunk.
Kill him. Oh, no!
And now we come to tonight's competition, in which we've got 6 special Dick Tracy packs to give away. Each lucky winner will receive a copy of the video, a Dick Tracy watch, the Madonna album, a Dick Tracy t-shirt and badge, so pens at the ready. Can you tell me which character in Dick Tracy is played by Glenn Headley? Is it Breathless Mahoney, Texie Garcia, or Tess Trueheart? Send your answers on a postcard or the back of a sealed envelope to Videoview, P.O. Box 1932, London NW8 6EY. Alternatively, you can ring our competition hotline, the number of which is 0898 66 4360. The lines are open 24 hours a day. And remember, only 1 competition please per entry, and it's important to state which competition you're entering. And last but not least, good luck. I wouldn't mind winning one of those prizes myself. Well, that's all we've got time for tonight. Make sure you tune in next week for sweet soul music in Spike Lee's new movie, Mo Better Blues. And attempt to keep up with The Flash, the latest comic book hero to hit the silver screen, and the shocking Exorcist 3. See you then. Good night.